Welcome to Coffee Break with Rachel V. Hill, presented by Superbook Sports. Taking a daily look at the biggest stories in Denver sports and interacting live with you, the Coffee Break fam. So sit back, relax, grab a cup of joe, and enjoy your coffee break. Here's your host, Rachel V. Hill.
I am not Rachel V. Hill, neither is he. I'm Will Peterson. He's Cecil Lammy, filling in for Rachel on this Friday. Cecil, what's going on, my dude?
Yeah, man, it's great. Weekend's almost here. Hopefully the Broncos don't win. I feel weird saying that, but we got a lot to get to and a little bit of time, so let's get to it.
Let's do it. We will get to whether or not the Broncos should win or lose on Sunday, what fans might be cheering for, but we have to start with this insane Jeudy press conference yesterday, Cease. It is the talk of Bronco land. Jeudy at his locker. A lot to get into. You know, he says after the game against the Chiefs, I don't remember what happened with Steve Smith. Well, he remembered what happened with Steve Smith just fine yesterday. He talks about why his stats are bad and how the media needs to look at the eye in the sky. He says, trade me or don't trade me. I'm going to still be me. It was truly one of those things that just comes out of nowhere going into a week 7 and takes over social media because this press conference was that wonky. Cease, what were your biggest takeaways from Jeudy going off yesterday?
Yeah, don't point people to the film, or people that do watch film are going to tell you he sucks. Like, that's the bottom line. Now, wide receiver is a dependent position. So, yes, it depends on the offensive line blocking and the plays being called and the quarterback. But it's you, man. It's you. Take ownership of it. It was so surreal watching Jeudy yesterday. And Jeudy's usually in the locker room. He's usually somewhat talkative, but he's just not getting it. He's not learning. And when he says, the eye in the sky don't lie. Yeah, the eye in the sky says you suck. So own it, man, and play better and be better and take cues from even Russell Wilson. We make fun of Russell Wilson's press conferences because he does the list, right?
Yeah.
Well, I think we got a bunch of good. I think Greg Dulcich is really good, and so is Adam Troutman, and so is Chris Manhertz, and Nate Atkins can do something. Even Lucas Kroll, I like. Like, Jeudy, just go to the list, man. Go to the list. Like, this does you no good. I don't know why he's here. When I went to practice on Wednesday, the first thing I did was look for 10. I saw him. I was like, what are they doing? I started telling other media members, like, what are you doing? You're wasting time with Jeudy. You're preventing further development from Marvin Mims because Mims is the Jeudy replacement. So move on from him. Get rid of him. Philadelphia is adding Julio Jones, who last I checked was 100 years old.
Yeah.
You can't get a 7th-round pick from Howie Roseman for Jeudy because Howie's addicted to trading. And I don't honestly care what you get for Jeudy. But yesterday just further emphasized how it's not working. It's not going to work. He does not get it. So get him out of here.
Yeah, that was my biggest takeaway is, you know, he throws everyone under the bus, right? He chucks Russ under the bus. He chucks Joe Lombardi under the bus. He chucks everyone under the bus. And then when someone on Twitter, like an aggregate account, takes Mace's video and says, oh, bad look from Jeudy, and it gets millions of hits, Jeudy immediately quote tweets it and says, you're misquoting my words. And it's like, bro, how can you misquote when Andrew Mason takes a video of you saying what you said, answering a question? And I didn't feel bad for Mace because Mace didn't do anything wrong. He's a pro. He's a pro's pro. But, of course, Jerry ends up with Mace's video saying this is somehow wrong or clipped poorly or whatever. And to your point, this dude doesn't get it. It's like, how do you say what you say, regret what you said maybe, and then 15 minutes later go to Twitter and claim you were misquoted when literally it is a video of you being quoted? Like, just please ship him out. Like, ship him out today. Yeah. I know trades don't happen on a Friday, but just ship him out today. I don't care.
Yeah, Jeudy's messing with us. I feel that he is. Either that, and I'm not going to be personal because I don't want to get in trouble, but that's just a dumb tweet. I'm not saying Jeudy is dumb. He's the smartest guy ever, whatever I have to say, so I don't get in trouble. But him responding that way to say he was misquoted is very dumb. It's very, very dumb, highly dumb. So, like, okay. And he's not learning. And you can blame it on youth or whatever. When I was 24, I was as dumb as a box of rocks. Some people would say I'm still that, but like, whatever. Jeudy's not getting it. This team doesn't need him here. He's creating a toxic situation.
Yes.
Anytime he talks to the media, Because let's face it, Denver media, we're mostly puppy dogs. Okay. There's a few of us that aren't, but most of us are.
Yeah.
Most of us are puppy dogs, and it's not the New York media, right? No one's going to ask the expose. But when he says, turn on the film, y'all need to watch the film. Well, okay. For those of us that do, myself, Andrew Mason, Mark Schlereth, whoever, it's not going to look good, man. And if I wanted to, I could put a video of the film, of the coach's film on Twitter, breaking down. You see Stink does it sometimes, circling the play and all these sorts of things, and just tell you why Jerry Jeudy sucks. I don't think he wants that. What's he going to say? Watch a different film. Watch another play. You don't know. Like, it's just ridiculous. And it's a distraction, honestly. And it's, oh boy, I could say some really harsh things. It's useless for the Denver Broncos to have Jerry Jeudy on this roster. It's absolutely useless to waste further time because it's not going to fix itself. It's not going to get right.
No.
So you need to get rid of him. And it doesn't, they only got a 7th rounder for a 1st rounder, whatever, release him. I don't even care. It's at that point.
What do you make of him saying after the Chiefs game that he didn't remember the Steve Smith thing? And then he goes on a 2-minute rant yesterday about how basically it boils down to this, Cecil. He doesn't like people that are fake polite. He says, don't trash me on a podcast and then try to be nice to me in person. But then he admits twice, hey, if I'd known Steve was trying to apologize to me, I would have handled the situation differently. And it's like, of course Steve was trying to apologize to you. You freaked out. You used a slur. You told him to get away. You danced behind him on the NFL Network. You did all these things. And then you have to go and say, well, don't talk trash about me and then try to approach me when it's like, bro, this is how life works. People say things they maybe don't want to say, even though Steve Smith was right. Let's make that abundantly clear. Jerry Jeudy is just a guy. Right. And then they want to apologize. And rather than hear him out for 4 seconds, Jerry Jeudy just freaks out. I thought that was another sort of rambling answer that didn't make a ton of sense from Jeudy yesterday.
Yeah, and honestly, and this is very honest, I'm not being funny at all. It makes me worry about his mental health. Like, seriously, dude, like Steve Smith's trying to approach you hat in hand, basically, and then you got to act like that, and then you say, well, if I'd known, it's like, all right, is there something not clicking where it's like you're not paying attention, you're not dialed in, like, where's your focus at? Like, again, and I think we all should be concerned about all of our mental health, but like when Jerry Jeudy has these just wild, crazy answers, it just makes me go, is he okay? Like, is everything okay up there? Because what he's saying doesn't make any sense, especially when Steve Smith is trying to be more professional and rise above it or whatever. And the way that you can answer this, it's easy. Play better. You can shut everybody up. You can quote whatever you want to quote. If you're out there getting 100 yards, getting a touchdown, he didn't even have a touchdown this season. If you're out there scoring, that's when you can dance. Dance when you score. Dance when you win. Go out there and prove everybody wrong. Jerry Jeudy has the talent, but as I've often said, and it was Scott McLuhan, former Washington GM, that told me years ago, physical talent's easy to see. Jerry Jeudy was my number 1 receiver in that class, which many people regarded as the greatest wide receiver class of all time. Why hasn't it worked out? It's upstairs. Physically, he's incredibly gifted. Speed, hands, routes, whatever. Incredibly gifted. He's not putting it together, and it's time to stop wasting time.
Yeah, things were easy for him at Alabama. They have not been easy in the NFL. That is for sure. Jerry Jeudy, which is a little more than 200 yards this year. 20 catches, no touchdowns. Looking like a full-on bust for the Denver Broncos, a miss. And I'm with you, Cease. Just move on. Like, let's quit worrying. Oh, can we get a 3rd or a 4th or a 5th? Nope. You said it. If it's a 7th, if it's a 7th. If you cut him, you cut him. Get the dude out of your locker room. He is toxic. He's toxic to this team, and he's part of the losing. I will give you the final thought on Jerry Jeudy before we move on.
Yeah, and I know, you hear the rumblings about the Colts. Okay, the Panthers, well, Steve Smith probably have a thing to say about that. But any team you bring him into, and I know the Colts lost Anthony Richardson for the year because he doesn't care about his personal safety. And this is probably bad for the Broncos. If you're not the Broncos, don't listen to me. You don't want that infecting your locker room. The toxicity from Jerry Jeudy will continue. There's no reclamation story here where Jerry Judy's going to go somewhere else and now he's going to get it. Put him on the best team. Put him on Kansas City, right? They just caught Montreal, Washington, so they got room. So put him on the best team with the best quarterback and the best coaching and the best guidance. It's not going to work out. It's not. So if you're a young team that's trying to get your core together, like in Indianapolis, who may or may not be interested in Jerry Jeudy, what are you doing? Now, I mean, I hope you get him. I hope it does work out for Jerry. I hope I'm totally wrong about Jerry, because I was totally wrong about him to begin with, thinking that he could be the greatest receiver in the greatest receiving class in NFL history.
All right, let's move on. Broncos and Packers on Sunday. There is a football game to play. I have two questions for you, Cease. First of all, what are Denver's chances of beating the Packers? Obviously, we know Aaron Jones, A.J. Dillon. Heck, they might go for 250. I want your thoughts on that. Right. But also, you're a Broncos. Say you're a Broncos fan. I know you're not a Broncos fan, but say you're a Broncos fan. Is it in your best interest to root for this team to lose, which as a fan is the most counterintuitive thing on earth? But chances, and should Broncos fans be rooting for a loss?
Yes, they should. And it's weird. And again, I hate that we're having this conversation. I hate that we're here with this Broncos team. But at the end of the day, to quote Bill Lumberg from Office Space, is this good for the company? Is this good? You beat the Packers. So flipping what? I got to clean it up because Matthew's behind the scenes and I don't want to disrupt his ears. But like, so what? You beat the Packers. It doesn't matter. It doesn't help you. It actually only hurts you. You have a 10% chance now at the number 1 overall pick. That's not enough. And you did it because you have one win, everybody. Okay. You better hope some of those bad teams start winning. You better hope that you keep losing. And as a fan, what do you want your Broncos to be? Do you want them to beat the Packers one time and, take that, cheeseheads, you get to go home with take the L on the way out? Is that what you want? Or do you want your team to have a real franchise quarterback, a real direction with a coach that wants his quarterback? I don't think Sean Payton wants Russell Wilson. He's not running his offense.
No.
That's a weird thing. Everybody watch for it and go back and watch 2021 Saints if you want. Sean Payton is not running his offense, and he's not giving Russ much to run. It's very, very vanilla. But either way, as a fan, you want them to be great again, correct?
Yes. You want Super Bowls. You want this.
How do you get there?
You want this franchise to get its 4th Lombardi at some point, Cease.
Right. So how do you get there? You're not getting there with Russell Wilson. You're not getting there with this incarnation of this team. So how do you get there is you get the best pick you can, you get the best quarterback you can, and you move on and you move forward. And yeah, it sucks. Yeah, it's weird. Hey, you should never root for losing. I know all these things. All of that is true. But in this situation, if you beat Green Bay, you're only hurting your franchise. Reminds me of 2018 when Brock Osweiler led team, 2017, led a win against the Indianapolis Colts. That caused the Colts, who ended up with the number 2 pick. They traded down because remember the Jets really wanted, let's move up, everybody. And that situation with Sam Darnold. I was going to say
Zach Wilson, and I was like, wait, I'm too early.
No, it was Darnold. Yeah. And so the Colts moved back. They ended up getting Quentin Nelson. The Broncos take Bradley Chubb at 5. Anyway, but if they're sitting there at number 2, by the way, that was Saquon Barkley. So Darnold was 3. But anyway, I'm getting off track.
That's right.
You had the win against the Colts with Brock in week 11 or whatever it was. That win screwed you out of the number 2 pick. Which maybe you would, and that probably would have been Darnold. Elway liked Darnold. So okay, how did that work out? And, the opinions on Darnold are varied and mostly negative, but Kyle loves him. Kyle almost traded that haul they did for Trey Lance only happened because they couldn't get Sam Darnold. And I reported that, and I know Pat McAfee had it up on his show, and I think it's Dov Kleeman, the unknown guy who lives overseas, that said
is he a real person or not? Yes.
Yeah, I know for a fact that the 49ers wanted to trade their 1st round pick for Sam Darnold. They couldn't do that, so they moved the haul for Trey Lance, essentially. Again, getting off track, but you can see how one win can knock you off course when you're staring at 2 can't miss quarterbacks. You can't screw this up by playing really hard against Green Bay in a game that doesn't matter.
Okay, so it doesn't matter. I agree with you there. It is better for a loss. I agree with you there. So in some sense, it does matter because we should put on our cheese heads on Sunday while we're watching this game. Is kind of what you're telling me, Cease. Let's break down the game a little bit because I do agree with you. It's better if they get a loss. But like, how much are the Packers getting Aaron Jones back from injury? Most likely, we don't know 100%, but he's been practicing. Right. AJ Dillon, big body beast. I don't know who's going to tackle him. I mean, seriously, why would you let Jordan Love throw more than 15 times on Sunday if you're Green Bay? Like, if Breece Hall and the Jets can get 7 yards a carry, you would think that the Packers will just ram it down Denver's throat, and right. BJ's defense could give up another, 28-ish points because they can't stop the run game, and Green Bay's got a two-headed monster.
Well, be careful of the false positive that some are trying to take away from the Kansas City game. Kansas City was blanking with you, man. They were messing with you. Kansas City, I think Mace called it like Charlie mess around. Like that's what they were playing. They were clowning you. That's essentially what the Chiefs were like. Let's run a hook and ladder. Let's do all these wild plays. Let's do all these weird things that we don't normally do. And they do a lot of weird things. Their players get to design some plays, and Andy Reid lets them run them. So in that game against Denver held them to 1 touchdown. Okay, that's true. But did Kansas City really put their best foot forward in that game? Did Kansas City really put their foot on the gas or the accelerator if you drive a Tesla? Like, did they really do that? No, they didn't do that. It's completely obvious because had they done that, Isaiah Pacheco would have had over 100 yards. Pat Mahomes would have been over 300 yards. They'd have scored 3, 4, 5 touchdowns. Like, it would have been really ugly. They didn't need it to be ugly because playing against the Broncos defense is like practice, man. To go Allen Iverson on you. We talking about practice. And, practice. Guess who's going to do that? Not a game.
Not a
practice.
Game.
Right.
Practice.
Right. And actually, to get totally off track, watching the behind the scenes, there's like a mini documentary on that interview and how Iverson, I believe, had lost one of his best friends tragically, like before that interview. Yeah. And so it just kind of caught him at the right time. It's fascinating. But anyway, this week, not fascinating. And if you're Green Bay, you can go out there and get right. That's how everyone's looking at the Broncos team with Aaron Jones likely to return. I'm writing my game plan now, denversports.com. It'll be out either today or tomorrow morning. And I'm breaking down the film of toss plays, any sort of wide zone concepts that you will see from LaFleur's team. These are what Aaron Jones can thrive on. And your Broncos defense just isn't good enough to stop them. Don't give me what they did against the Chiefs as any sort of, sign that Vance Joseph is getting it. They're not. They won't. And if Green Bay sticks to the rushing attack and doesn't fall behind to allow Jordan Love to have to throw more, then they can win this game. Maybe not going away, but they can win it a little easier than people want to think.
Well, I found it funny yesterday, Cecil, that VJ goes up to the podium and he probably would have led our show, but Jeudy happened, so we had to adjust. But VJ goes up there and has the gall to say, oh, that wasn't up to my standard in Kansas City. It's like, VJ, let's not get greedy here, bro. You gave up 19 to the Chiefs after giving up 70 to the Dolphins. If 19 to the Chiefs wasn't up to your standards, what the heck was 70 down in Miami? I just thought it was funny he was going to play the tough guy when he's the coach of the worst defense in the NFL.
Right. And even if you take the Dolphins game out, take it completely out of the stat sheet, the Broncos aren't the 32nd defense in the league. They're the 31st. So they're still terrible. And that's the thing. And this is what I'll get very, meta on you this morning, Will. Maybe it's the gamer fuel. But anyway, like, you're wasting time. Time is our most precious asset in life. That's what it is. That's why you say, pay attention, spend time. That's right. The true currency of life. The currency of life is time. You and I are taking time this morning to talk about the Broncos, but they themselves are wasting the time of their fans. And this is who I feel bad for. And you mentioned I'm not a Broncos fan. And people always ask me, like, why do you get so upset about the Broncos when you're not a fan? Well, first, I'm an analyst, and an analyst shouldn't be a fan. Secondly, Broncos country is my family. All of my family, the largest Broncos fans that I know, my sister Carrie, my grandmother Mildred, like the largest Broncos fans I know are all my family. So Broncos country, you're my family, and I hurt for you because this team is wasting your time. You are giving them your time. You are giving them your attention. You're giving these emotions. I am getting sick. Hopefully not this week, Will, but the last 3 post-game shows, I have gotten physically ill from the Broncos. I won't get graphic, but like, and almost during the show, the last show on Thursday night, I was like, I think I might have to throw up, and almost did the screensaver thing, and then like hurled in my trash can here in my office. It's that bad. I'm not going to let the Broncos hurt me anymore. And Broncos country, you should do the same. Like, stop paying them your most precious asset, which is your time.
All right, we're going to get to Cecils Fantasy 5 in just a moment, but real quick, the Avs had their home opener last night at Ball Arena, beat the Blackhawks 4-0, finally played a game in Denver after going 3-0 on the West Coast. I was there. It was a complete and total domination by the Avs. Blackhawks, they got this 18-year-old kid, Connor Bedard. He's coming off a 10-day road trip, and he looked like I think a lot of us would have looked at 18 after traveling for 10 days. He just wanted to get home. Cease, I'll just go big picture, and I'll just go one question because we're running out of time. I got to get into your Fantasy 5. But this Avs team, 4-0, it's cup or bust, right? Like, that's the expectation, championship or bust for the Colorado Avalanche, their second cup in 3 years.
Yeah, I believe that's the case, and that's exactly where you want to be. And you see the failures in playoffs of the past where you've been bounced in the second round or earlier. We can all remember those against the Knights or whatever. You can remember those well, and then you can go, that's the motivation. That's the hunger you see now. Start fast, but finish fast. You know this better than me, Will. It's a long season. And winning the Stanley Cup is tough. And it is something you have to have a lot of stick-to-itiveness, but this early season success can build confidence so that you can have that stick-to-itiveness later on.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm not planning the parade, but I might be mapping the route, 4-0, baby. 4-0 is better than 0-4. And guess what? You can only win games in October when the calendar says October. Yes, we all will be paying a lot more attention come April, May, and June. But let's get into Cecil's Fantasy 5. It's presented by our good friends over at Hooters. Cease, for some of the lazier folks out there who are just maybe hitting the waiver wire today, got a few buys this weekend or an unexpected injury. I know it's slim pickings. It's slim pickings.
6 teams on bye.
Yeah.
6 teams on bye, which it's really slim pickings.
Is there a name you can give me? Is there a name that, like, maybe he's available in my league, or at least I should go and look?
Yeah, now Friday's different because he shouldn't be, but if he is, if you haven't looked, you can get a starting running back right now on the waiver wire, and a starting running back that during the joint practices with the Broncos and the Rams, I was asked by some of my scouting buddies, like, tell me how Zach Evans looks. Because you know that teams want to pluck from other teams' rosters. If a young guy doesn't make a team or they sneak him through to the practice squad, people want to know, like, how does this guy look? And Kyron Williams has been fantastic. He's also got an ankle sprain that keeps getting higher by the week. So Kyron's probably done for a few weeks. His backup, Ronnie Rivers, done for longer than that. He's actually on IR. So here comes Zach Evans, and a very talented back who falls in the draft, mainly because of motivation issues with a couple of different teams. So now can he be motivated as the starter? Sean McVay's basically said, like, yeah, he's the guy. I mean, what are they going to do? Go with Royce Freeman? No. So you can pick up Zach Evans. I've got him more as a running back 2 or flex play, just in kind of a wait and see. Let's see if he can do it, because it was the Kyron Williams show and Rivers was playing over Evans, which honestly shouldn't happen because Evans is very physically gifted. But yeah, that's the type of guy you can plug in from your waiver wire right to your starting lineup, running back 2 flex play, and see if he pays off for you this week.
All right, I love it. Go and see if he's available. Let's talk Broncos and Packers. Mm-hmm. Are there any Broncos worth starting? This is a question that a few friends have posed to me, and I said, let me ask Cecil because he knows better than I do. But at this point, Cease, it's almost an unstartable team. I'm not sure there's a single Bronco that makes sense to start on Sunday. You tell me if I'm wrong, if there's 1 or 2 guys that should be in people's lineup.
Well, again, in putting my game plan together, I'm looking at how Texas routes work against Green Bay, how running backs who do out and then cut into the middle of the field, it's a choice route or Texas route, whatever you want to call it, like that works against Green Bay. You can use that against their linebackers. You can use screen passes. You can even use draw plays. That leads me to Jaleel McLaughlin is like a what the heck flex. but I'm not going to trust that. I love Jaleel. You love Jaleel. Broncos country loves him. Sean Payton doesn't use him. Again, Sean Payton is not running his offense. This is very weird. I did not have this on my bingo card for the 2023 Broncos. Sean Payton is not running his offense. This isn't the 2021 Saints. It can never be what Drew Brees did, but it's not even what Jameis Winston did. It's super vanilla. They don't run enough. And so when I look at this matchup, I'm actually looking at the flip side. I'm looking at a Luke Musgrave. Luke Musgrave, who I loved coming out of Oregon State. Fantastic tight end, rookie tight end that's making plays for Jordan Love, even with the ground game doing what they can do. Start your Aaron Jones, AJ Dillon's a what the heck flex, but a guy like Luke Musgrave can come through for you as a tight end 2 or a flex option because they don't need him to do a lot. If you're running the ball in the short passes in the red zone, that's where Musgrave can thrive. He's a security blanket for Jordan Love. I like Romeo Doubs as a wide receiver 3 or a flex play this week as well. I don't care if Pat Surtain's on him. Doubs is feisty. He was feisty at the Senior Bowl, like even getting in fights during practice, during an all-star game practice, because he's that feisty. He wants to prove everyone that he can make plays. You'd love to see that feistiness and ability from Jerry Jeudy, but I digress. Romeo Doubs, Luke Musgrave, your Packers backs. These are the fantasy assets you go to and the fantasy assets you can trust in Green Bay versus Denver.
All right, we're doing our Fantasy 5 presented by Hooters. This is question number 3 for you, Cecil. I know there's a lot of Patrick Mahomes owners out there that are getting a little frustrated. If it was an auction, you spent a lot of money on him. If it was a snake draft, you maybe took him in the first couple of rounds. Mahomes has put up fine numbers, but certainly not Star Wars numbers. So my question to you, very pointed, when do you consider benching Patrick Mahomes and looking for someone else? Or are you absolutely insane to ever even utter the sentence, bench Patrick Mahomes?
Yeah, again, I think the Chiefs are bored last week. The Chargers will be a little bit more of a challenge. The Chargers can put up some points. Hopefully Austin Eckler does better. But Pat Mahomes, you're starting. He's my number 2 quarterback this week behind Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts coming off that bad game. Like, oh my God. Like, yeah, but it's Miami. Right. It's Miami. And I know it's Vic Fangio, right? Because the Jets can play tough defense. And we saw that against the Eagles. But like, it's Miami and Philadelphia. That's like a Super Bowl matchup. So yeah. And Pat Mahomes against the Chargers, he's going to be more inspired now with more McCole Hardman. McCole Hardman's a gadget player, but like he's figuring it out with Rashee Rice. Long as Travis Kelce's healthy, they'll continue to get it done and they'll be more inspired to score more, which means good things for your fantasy team.
All right, sounds good. Question 4 for you, Cease. Monday Night Football is tricky because we'll get some more practice reports, but everyone owns Christian McCaffrey and everyone owns Deebo Samuel. What advice would you have to people to navigate that if come Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon, we still don't know about Christian and Deebo? Do you bench them? Do you pick up a different Niner? Roster management for a tricky Monday night game. Give us your tip.
Yeah, tricky Monday night game, which means Elijah Mitchell. Like that's you're watching Elijah Mitchell, you're watching Jordan Mason. Like you've got some different options there. And honestly, I don't think McCaffrey should play because shut him down, get him healthy. This is a team that's built for a Super Bowl run. As far as the receivers go, you got a couple different names. Of course, more George Kittle without Deebo, but more Brandon Ayuk is always good, especially because this matchup against Minnesota's a Caleb Evans. That's a really good matchup for Ayuk. So without Samuel, you could just see flat out more of Ayuk. And it's one of those, like, I would rather just avoid the situation because it's Monday night and your waiver wire, Mitchell's probably way long gone. Mason's probably way long gone. So you're not going to have the option if all of a sudden you're relying on him and then he doesn't play and you're like, oh, I'm picking up Kenny Wangwu or something from the Vikings on the flip side. Like, nah, don't do that. Just trust it and make the decision ahead of time to not play Christian because I don't think you should play.
All right, final question for you, Cease, as we put a bow on this on a Friday. Trade deadline. A lot of leagues do have trade deadlines, and they sort of mirror the NFL in most of them, at least the couple I'm in, something like that, maybe a little later. But who's like a sleeper you could go trade for? Maybe a guy that's underachieved and you could buy low and trick your buddy into giving him to you because he's going to have a big second half.
I love this question. We could have done the whole show on this, but I'll say one name because he's getting better and you're seeing glimpses of him getting better. And that's Jackson Smith and Jigba, rookie first round pick for the Seattle Seahawks. DK Metcalf is fantastic. Tyler Lockett is one of my favorites, always has been since the Senior Bowl. But Geno, and it was a few weeks ago when you saw the sideline footage where Geno went over to talk to Smith and Jigba, and he said, "You're the man. You're the best." There's a quote. He said, "You're the best." And you're seeing as the weeks have gone on, Smith and Jigba is getting more and more involved. He's kind of getting it in this game, and he can flourish. He can thrive in a passing game that, well, could use even more weapons, even though they do have a Metcalf and a Lockett. I think Jackson Smith and Jigba could be one of the keys to your team, your fantasy team, making a championship run.
Oh, I love to hear it. Go and get him now if you can. Go tell your buddy, hey, this rookie hasn't done much. You can give him to me for
right,
cheap.
right. I
Let's
love when
go.
you can sell stuff like that too, right? You'd be like, oh yeah, he's doing nothing. What do you don't even want this guy. I'll throw him in, make it a throw in, and I'll do the deal. And you really, you really get over on that one.
That was Cecil Lammy's Fantasy 5 ahead of Week 7, presented by our good friends at Hooters. I hope that helped you out. It certainly helped me out. There was a couple personal questions in there that I now have some answers to. So I appreciate it. For Matt, for Cecil, I'm Will. We appreciate you tuning in to Coffee Break, and we'll see you on Monday after Broncos and Packers.